Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. I'm sitting outside enjoying the beautiful summer sun. It's amazing to think about the difference in the weather between last week's video, sitting in the car as it was pouring down, and sitting here in the beautiful Australian sun. This past week I had the pleasure and the honor of sitting on a panel with three other wonderful rabbis, the Young UIA sponsored event, bringing together myself and Rabbi Rabin and Rabbi Glassman and Rabbi Mervis to answer pressing questions about the future. And as I said on that night, the way in which the evening was conducted, I think, gave me a tremendous sense of pride, knowing that I think, there's a lot of challenges ahead, but there's some good people involved, and thank God there's some good leadership within the Orthodox community, and good things hopefully lay ahead. With that being said, there are tremendous challenges, and one of the things that was brought up was the issue of Jewish identity in the future, and how do we keep people involved and people invested, and keep young people excited about their Judaism. And I've been thinking about that, and there are no easy answers. But of course, the great challenge is to empower people to feel connected today, and to see the relevance of what we do in our tradition. My mother sent me an article about the basketball player Steph Curry. Now, Steph Curry is one of the most impressive, he's the best three-point shooter ever, one of the best shooters ever in the history of the game, accomplished on so many levels. And when he gets out there, he's got so much confidence and so much swagger. But the article is talking about how several years ago he was recovering from an ankle surgery, and his self-confidence was incredibly low, and he was struggling with who he was, and he wasn't sure if he was able to to get to that level that he wanted to get to. And his wife Aisha turns to him and says, "Never forget who you are." Now you can imagine Steph Curry being like this amazing son of a famous basketball player, incredibly talented. Of course he's got confidence, but knows those words, "never forget who you are," which empowered him to say, you know what, yeah, deep down, even though I've got all this self-doubt, I'm Steph Curry. This is what I'm capable of. And those simple words empowered him. And that reminded me of a really fascinating insight that I heard from Rav Benny Lau on this week's Parsha. In our Parsha, we find Yosef, according to the Gemara, standing in the room of the wife of Potiphar. And according to the Gemara, he actually was ready to give in to her advances. Every day he would come to work, and the wife of Potiphar saw this young, beautiful man, and she was trying to pull him in and entice him and seduce him. And finally, according to one of the opinions in the Gemara, he came to actually give in a moment of weakness. And he comes into her room, and he's focused and he's ready. And the Gemara says, what stopped him? He said, "Diukno shel aviv." He saw the image of his father. So Rav Benny Lau says, what does it mean he saw the image of his father? He says, in those days, it's very possible that people did not have mirrors. A mirror. It was only the wealthy people who were able to afford having a mirror, right? Even a simple thing like that. And maybe it was that he actually hadn't seen a reflection of himself in many years. And here he was. He comes into the room, a wealthy woman's room, and there's a mirror. And he sees his aged, bearded face that he hadn't seen for many years, being in prisons. And what did he see? He saw his father's face in him. He saw his father's face in him. That's an amazing thing. It was that moment where he saw, this is where I come from. This is who I am. How can I go through with this act? How can I, be with another man's wife if this is who I am? I'm my father's son. And it was that moment of recognizing who he is and where he comes from that was able to give him the strength to overcome the temptation. Rabbi Lau compares it to that scene in The Lion King, where the Lion King, Simba, looks down and sees his father's reflection. He sees who he is. He sees his father's face in his own face. He says, this is where I come from. This is who I am. What does this mean? To form a Jewish identity, it's not about saying, I come from something really great. It's not just about knowing Jewish history, but rather it's seeing Jewish history within us. It's about seeing ourselves as that next chapter of Jewish history, to recognize where we've come from, but to see the history within us and to recognize here we are. We are an essential part of the story of the Jewish people. This is our goal. Our goal is not just to educate. I'm looking here at the young Yavna students playing out in the field. Our job is not just to educate them about where we come from and our tradition and all of our laws. Our job is to empower them to see how they are chosen for a specific reason. They are part of this amazing story of Judaism. And this is our challenge moving ahead, to empower them to see themselves as an integral part of the story of the Jewish people. With that, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.